So this very video we're going to be talking about algorithm and flowchart. So this basically applies to that's any programming language that you're actually using. Yes, that's if you're someone who intend to be or in the software engineering field, or actually to be a programmer, a web developer, or be in that arena. It is important to get clear idea or clear understanding about algorithm and also flowchart. And when we talk of algorithm, what does algorithm basically mean? So algorithm basically means a well-defined step-by-step way of solving a particular problem. So algorithm basically means a well-defined step-by-step way of solving a particular problem. So that's algorithm. So step-by-step way of solving a particular problem. So I say a well-defined. Yeah, so basically I will be saying them, and maybe for me to be writing, I think it is going to be brief here, so just pardon me for that. Yeah, so algorithm basically means a well-defined step-by-step way of solving a particular problem. So when you say you want to basically solve a problem, let's say you want to add 2 numbers or 3 numbers, this is actually a problem. You want to solve a problem, and the problem is that addition of 2 numbers. Yeah, so this is your problem, and you want to solve the particular problem, and you need to follow the process algorithm. Yeah, so you have steps that you need to actually follow before you can solve this particular problem. Yeah, so step by step way of solving a particular problem, and this is a particular problem, the addition of 2 numbers. So how are we going to tackle that? So we have standard way of solving this particular problem. Yeah, so earlier on I did a video and I talked about software engineering principles, and you need to ensure that abstract reusability. You need to consider a lot of principles before you start that's solving a problem. So you need to make sure that the problem that you are tackling, it is actually it is actually in such a way that solving the problem will be easy. Yeah, an algorithm is actually that's in the way of that's it is actually in a readable formula. Yeah, let me say it that way. So algorithm and flowchart, the difference here is that the algorithm is actually an abstract thing, or it is actually it's full of it is actually a wordy stuff. So you will just be reading and get the idea of the problem, how you can basically go around and solve it. And the flowchart also it is basically a graphic way of that's a graphical representation of algorithm. So that's how it is. Yeah, so for the algorithm, you're going to solve this very problem, addition of 2 numbers. And how are you going to start? So the algorithm here will be let me take off the number. Yeah, so the algorithm, we are starting. Yeah, we want to solve the problem, and how are you going to solve it? Yeah, here comes. So the algorithm here is, we need to start. You have something called start. You need to start the program. So for instance, you are actually writing an algorithm, a well-defined step-by-step way of solving addition of 2 numbers. And this is actually a project that you are actually developing, and you want to give it to a manager who has no background about software engineering, like any other background, but you can basically understand whatever that you've written down. So it needs to be in such a way that the manager will get to know what you want to solve, and also the feasibility aspects of what you are sending to the manager So I mean like by the end of the day, you should just read and get to know that whatever that you've written is actually in a good manner. It is actually in the manner that it will be like manageable and like everything. Yeah. So when you start, how are you going to do? How are you going to solve your problem? So these are things that you present to the person that you want to present, or if you are solving a particular problem, this is how you're going to go about it. Yeah. So you need to start your program. After starting the program, what are you going to do? Though in program you have something we call the variables. So you need to declare variables. We need to declare a variable, and the variable we're going to use variable number one. Declare variable number one, variable number two, and we declare sum or our total. Let's use total. So meaning after we start the program, we need to have a variable number one, variable number two, and variable total. So these are the variables that we are going to store our objects inside. So when we talk about variables are basically a container, yeah, or a special place where we store our objects or our data. Yeah, that's what it's basically hosts. It's so that we can basically use it in future whenever we want to. Yeah, so variables are like that. Yeah, and they can be changed or updated. Yeah, so we have phrase variables in there. So yeah, so we've declared our variables, and yeah. So this is declare variable number one, declare variable number two, declare variable total. So we are done with that. And what's next? After declaring a variable, so in the that's even if you don't understand algorithm, if you want to solve that's 1 plus that's two numbers. Let's say the addition is 1 plus 2. Sorry, 1 plus 2. You do the total and it's equal to what? 3. So you see, you declare your variables. This in program you declare variables, and this is where you're going to store this number. Another variable, this what is going to where you're going to store this number or hold this number. And number 2 will hold this. And number 1 will store this, and the total will also hold this. Yeah, so this is what you want to do here, and there is an operation here that do the magic. That one too is supposed to be here. Everything in here that you see is supposed to be here. So the where we are going to store the first value is supposed to be here. Here we are going to store the second value is also supposed to be here, and here we are going to store our final result is also supposed to be here. And the magical aspect of it is also everything is supposed to be in here for us to actually see. So after declaring our variable, what are you supposed to do? You need to input you need to input what? You need to input number 1 to input number 2. Yeah. So after doing the input, what's next? You need to basically input all of these. We've done that on number 1, number 2. Now what's next? Yeah. So now we've done with the input. We are going to the processing aspect of it. And what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? So we assign we assign total. We assign total to oh, I'm missing something here. Yeah, so we need to yeah, sure. So add so add a variable, or just add let's add number 1, number 2, and add add number 1 and number 2. Yeah, that's add number 1 and number 2. Yeah. Yeah. So this is what you after the input you just add. You add number 1, number 2, and assign it to total. Yeah. So this is how the operation is going to be. So total is equal to number 1 plus number 2. Yeah, so this is how it's supposed to be. So yeah, so this is how it's supposed to be. Add number 1, number 2, and assign it to total, and this is what we've actually done. Yeah, so number 1, yeah, and now we are done. And what are you going to do? We need to display our results, and the result, the name of the result is the total 6. So after displaying the total or the result, what are you supposed to do? We end the program. So this is a simple algorithm. That's step-by-step way of solving a particular problem. But I will say a well-defined step-by-step way of solving an addition of 2 numbers, and it follows. You start, you declare variable number 1, variable number 2, and your total. You go to the next stage, you input. That's by entering your numbers. You enter the number 1 value, the number 2 value. You are done. You go to the processing aspect. You also add number 1, you add number 2, and assign it to your variable total. Yeah, so the operation basically shows that total equals to number 1 plus number 2, and you display your total. After making sure your process is done, you display the total and you end the program. Right now you are done. So anyone out there can basically read this and understand, even if you have no background in computer programming or any other stuff. Yeah, so it's actually a clear English where you can basically read and understand. Yeah, so algorithm basically like it is actually a well-defined step-by-step way of solving the particular problem. So if you read the algorithm, it's just like reading English or any other language that it was being written in. So just like that. And this is algorithm for you. And if it is a multiplication of 2 numbers, yes, you need to change this. Yeah, the add sign, depending on how you wrote them. You just need to ensure you actually know that. Yeah, that's algorithm for you. So we are done with the algorithm, and we are going to the flow chart. When we talk of flow chart is actually a graphical representation of algorithm. That's what I basically say. It's actually a graphical representation of algorithm. So flow chart, you basically have symbols that represent that. You have oval, you have the rectangle, you have the rectangle like shape, you have various shapes, you have the arrow, we have the diamond symbol, and a lot. So basically we have a lot of symbols that we can actually use to represent flowcharts. And the addition of 2 numbers, we are going to illustrate the addition of 2 numbers, that's using flowchart. So what are you going to do before you start? You need to actually ensure that the over, the start and the end, they take the over. So that's for you. Yeah, so the start and the end, just note they take the over. Yeah, they actually take the over. So start. Yeah, so I want to make it in such a way that it will be okay. So the start So the start and the end, they take over. So anytime you see a flowchart and a symbol, list like this, yeah, you just have to know that it is, here it starts and supposed to be, in over. You have the arrow, so when you want to go to the next, stage or the next step, you use the arrow symbol. So this is where you use the arrow symbol for indication sake. So now you are done, you want to go. So what are you going to do? We input our values. Yeah, so here the variable declaration, you can actually do that. You declare your variables, in here. So in this one, the rectangular shape like is actually used for input and it is actually an input and output symbol. Let me see if I'll get a shape that is actually like that. The sides are actually slant. Yeah, so I have similar shape here. So, yeah, so this is actually input and output symbol. Yeah, this is input and output symbol. Yeah, this is input and output symbol. Yeah, so declare number 1, number 2, total. Yeah, and you need to ensure they actually, anytime they are actually in the shape, you need to ensure that, yeah, so let's take it this way. Yeah, and let's go to the next stage. The next stage, you need to have the arrow symbol also here. Yeah, so basically step by step we are moving on and we are heading towards, I mean the finishing line. So we started, have the input to here. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to ensure, now we have declared a variable input number 1, number 2. So after the input, what are you supposed to do? Now we need to ensure our processing is actually done. Yeah, for the variable declaration, yeah, I don't think it is necessary, yeah, in here. So let's take that one off. Yeah, for the variable declaration, it is not actually important in here, so let's take it off. Yeah, just input, just make sure you've added some input in here. Just input, yeah. So after your input, what are you supposed to do? You need to check your processing. Yeah, here variable declarations are actually, it is not actually mandatory. Just go straight forward the flowchart, because you have the input symbol, the processing symbols, and the likes. Yeah, so these are the kind of shape that we are sticking to. You need to ensure everything is actually in sync with whatever that you're doing. Yeah, so this is where the processing comes and what are we supposed to do, so we basically ensure that the processing is actually done in here, and what are we going to do for the processing, so how are we going to do it, right? So here comes, we need to ensure that what we did there is actually, here. So add number 1, number 2, and assign to sum. Then you do assign to total, and you do what I actually total equals to number 1, number 2. Yeah, so this is how it is. Oh, okay, so this is how it is. Assign to title, blah 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 blah. Okay, sorry. So this is actually the process symbol. Okay, so this is actually the process symbol, and we are supposed to use this very shape instead. Yeah, this is actually the process symbol. We are not supposed to use the input and output symbol. Okay, so supposed to ensure that you have yeah, so this is how it's supposed to be. Yeah, and after the processing, what are we supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? We've done the processing, and what are you supposed to do? We need to display, and the display here comes. We use this. Here is for input and output, so we display. Yeah, so this symbol is for input and output, so display total. And after displaying, meaning we are actually done. So after displaying the result, what are we supposed to do? So if you display the result, now what are you supposed to do? Now if you display the result, and we need to end the program. So right now we are going to end the program. We started and now we are ending it. You need to end the program very well to ensure what you actually done, what you actually did. And right now you are done. What you started, you are done. Yeah, I mean, so you need to ensure the end is also, yeah. So right now this is our our flowchart. This is our simple addition of two numbers flowchart. So you start input number 1, input number 2, and you add number 1, number 2, and assign to total, because I've been doing work using some, so it's total, and you need to basically display the result. That's the total, and that is actually the end. Yeah, so you input, you actually add, yeah, you assign the total, and that's it. The end comes. So this is the flowchart for you. Yeah, thank you very much.